I will call. Okay, folks, we're on the air, so please find your seats. Good morning, everybody. I call to order the regular open meeting of United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. This is Tuesday, September 10th, and it's 9:30. We are in the boardroom of the community center. We do have a quorum, and I would like to call on Director Liberatore for our Pledge of Allegiance. All right, acknowledging the media. I don't see the Globe here yet. She may be watching on television or comes in a little late, but we have our wonderful Channel 6 upstairs that are recording us. All right, approval of the agenda. Before we approve the agenda, I would like to remove item 13A, item 13A to our November meeting. We don't have a business meeting in October. It's our annual meeting and our installation of officers. And so we don't have a regular business meeting. So this will go to our November meeting. There were some changes that were supposed to have been put into it that weren't. And so just to make sure it's correct, instead of going through and making all the corrections this morning, we will just table it to our November meeting. May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda as amended?
I move.
Okay.
I move.
All right. Moved by Carl and seconded by Cash. All right, we have 3 minutes to be approved. We have the special open meeting for the budget version 2, and we have a regular open session, and then we had a special open meet the candidates meeting. We can do each one separately if that's the desire of the board, but it's probably easiest if I can get a motion just to approve all 3 of them. What's your desire? Mary?
Mary Stone was at which meeting?
It was the August 13th meeting.
Okay, that would be,
Page 1 of 14.5B. I was left off and I was here.
Okay, all right, we will add that as a Scribner's.
Thank you.
All right, can I still have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Make a motion.
Okay, Carl and Aggie? Any discussion? See, that's when we should have gotten yours in, but we do it. Add Mary. All right. Daniel, can we have a voting screen for the meeting minutes? All right.
Sorry, I don't have the voting on my.
Well, of course you don't, but you give your vote
I have the
verbally
I have the
to
Granicus
Daniel.
on mine. Can I have the voting screen on my Granicus?
vote, tell me.
Just give your vote to Daniel.
Andre, do you vote in,
Thank you.
are you voting to approve the minutes, Andre?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, report of the chair.
Director Bastani, can I have your vote, please?
Director.
Raisa? I'm sorry? Your vote didn't go through. Okay, very good, thank you. There's been a lot of discussion in the last few weeks about the duties of the board, and I would like to clear a few things up this morning. As I said when I called this meeting to order, it is the meeting of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors for the California Nonprofit Mutual Benefit Corporation. We are the board of directors of the corporation. It's a mutual benefit corporation, a CID. It is not a homeowners association because we do not own our units. It is the responsibility of this board to make sure that the corporation is strong in every way, including financially, ethically, whatever, because we're not ignoring residents in any way, shape, or form. Residents make up the corporation. They're the shareholders in the corporation. But it's our responsibility as a board to make sure that there is a corporation, because otherwise your investment in your unit isn't worth anything. We don't have a corporation that oversees it. So that's what the board of directors does. Yes, we are very concerned with each and every one of you as a resident, and we try to there, but our main responsibility is to make sure that the corporation is strong and is physically equitable and is not torn down in the press, et cetera. We answer to a lot of things like that. So I'm not going to say it's our only responsibility, but our first responsibility is we are directors of a corporation. And that's what this is all about. This is an important meeting today. We will be voting on the budget, business plan, reserve spending for the coming year, 2020. I know it's still only 2019, but we do these things 3 or 4 months in advance. It takes that long to get everything in order. And you will be getting copies of all of that in your November mailing. We have 2 big mailings every year, November and April, and November's packet has all any changes in rules. It has our fee schedule. It has our budget, all of the information that you need. So when you get that in the mail, don't just toss it. Put it away, look at it, read it, so that you know, as residents, what's going on. That's your responsibility. Our responsibility is to do it. Your responsibility is to read it and make sure that you understand it. Okay, we will go to item number 7, which is our open forum. 3 minutes per speaker. At this time, members may address the board of directors for items that are not on the agenda and are within the jurisdiction of the board of directors. That means it's not a GRF or a third mutual issue. There's a maximum time limit of 3 minutes, and a speaker may address the board only once during this period. When you come up to the lectern, you'll see there's a little clock that will show you your timing, and it goes from green to yellow to red, which means stop. All right, Daniel, do we have some speakers this morning?
First, we have Mike Ayett.
Good morning. My name is Mike Ayett, 468D, cul-de-sac 15. I'm here to talk about a landscaping problem. Seems it's been going on a long time. What I'd like to do is just kind of give you some information. We live in a Cordoba that's an end unit. So we have a large front yard and a side yard that is 20 feet wide and about 72 feet long that wraps around the back. So we have an awful lot of landscaping in there. On August 21st, 2018, the landscaping people came to landscape. The next time they came was this February 12th and 13th of 2019. Now that's 4 months and 3 weeks. So we're at, right now, from February 12th, 2019 to September 10th, 2019, nobody has come. That is 7 months and counting. We've lived here 13 years. When we first got here, the landscaping was done quarterly, every 3 months. And they were pretty regular on it. Now, as time has gone on, it's 4 months is what has been happening to us. And now, as you can see, it's 5 months and really 7 months and counting. Our place has got palm trees in it. I can't handle it anymore. I tried to get out there and do it, but it's too much at our age to do that. Maggie can tell you, she sees me out there, right? And trying to do it. We just can't do it anymore. So my question is pretty simple, and I guess Mr. Parker or Maggie or someone, when is this problem going to be fixed? Because I've heard for the last 2 years, first it's, oh gosh, we can't hire landscaping people. Orange County is booming. We can't get the people. Then I heard that it's a budget problem. But something's got to be done because we bought this place because how nice it looked. And it definitely does not look nice now. And I'm sorry, but that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll remind everybody that we will answer the comments at the end for all of them, rather than individually, one at a time, while you speak. All right, Daniel?
Next is Maxine McIntosh.
Good morning, neighbors. I hope everyone watching this meeting on TV has voted, and if they misplaced their ballot, they know they can get another one. I did that 1 year. You don't have to lose it. If you misplaced it, because we have a professional organization handling it, you can get another ballot. They have an electronic system of keeping track of that for us. Just call down here to the community center, and I know they'll help anybody that's misplaced theirs. I was very, very grateful to our CEO, Jeff Parker, at the GRF meeting last week. We had a problem. There was a big crowd, so there weren't enough agendas, and some of us had to wait an hour to get an agenda. And I was trying to catch up on the agenda, so I heard part of it out of context. But apparently, he was being very responsible in reminding that board about the fact that our assessments would not cover multi-million-dollar projects ahead. I think he mentioned a $20 million renovation and another $15 million and maybe a $14 million. And since you protect our assessments, I was so glad that was stated on TV. I'm not sure how well I heard it, so I'm going to watch the meeting again tomorrow night on television. But I thought, oh, I'm so glad that someone is pointing out that we have to tighten our belts. I would like to say the way this board is. I look at our budget, I think you've been so responsible in handling our money and spending our money, and I thank you very much. I am very, very grateful.
Thank you, Maxine. Next, Daniel.
Our last speaker is Michael Landry.
Michael Landry, 693B. My wife and I walk along the creek every day. There's one building, building 182. For years, it had a plastic sheeting on part of the roof. I think it's a San Sebastian, if I'm not mistaken. The plastic has since gone away. Now, where it was anchored on either side of that same roof is still some kind of schmutz, whatever was holding it down. And I wish somebody would look at that. The other one, I can't remember the name of the manor, but number rather. There's an area. It's a Sevilla, the two-story one. there's a wall right up against the sidewalk, and if somebody would call me, I'd be more than happy to walk you there. That the manor is up here, and there's a wall down against the sidewalk. It's been bulging for years, and it's an accident waiting to happen. About 3 weeks ago, there was a gentleman there looking at it. I said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're doing something about it." Said, "Oh yeah, we'll do something about it, definitely." Well, it's a little bit like putting a Band-Aid on a great gaping gash in your skin. It's still bowing. It's filled with dirt and plantings. It's still an accident waiting to happen. I just hope that I'm not the one who gets covered by the dirt that as I walk by. So those are my two main boogaboos. The other one is saying thank you. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say thank you to you guys or GRF. The creek is finally getting cleaned. Thank you, Jesus. It looked like a third world country down there. I thought, my God, I'm walking in this nasty area. It's something that needs to be looked at more often. I know there are all these different entities we have to get permission from and whatever, but it needs to be done regardless. It used to be done all the time, and I'm not casting aspersions on VMS at all, trust me. I didn't like PMS at all either. I know, I mispronounced it on purpose. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Any more speakers? Thank you, Daniel. All right, Maggie, since a couple of these seem to be landscape, would you like to start with responses?
The rotation is supposed to be 4 times a year. I don't know why it has not been 4 times a year. I have no idea, and maybe Jeff can answer that. But as far as I've been told, they're still supposed to be coming 4 times a year. That would be every 3 months by my calculations. So if it's not happening, then we need to find out why and improve that situation. As far as the creek goes, I guess Jeff will look at that, but the wall won't fall down in a minute. It'll crack and break and slow and make a mess and so on and so on. So it's probably not going to be good, but when it does start, there'll be a mess on the sidewalk, and that will be a hazard too. So I'm sure we'll be looking at that. Thank you. That's all.
Carl?
I'd like to address myself to Mr. Michael. With regard to your cover on the roof, if you can specifically send me a photo of what you're talking about to my email address, I will look into it. With regard to the bulging wall, funny you should say that, because when I make my M&C report later on in the meeting, we're going to be addressing the fact that infrastructure needs to get addressed. I personally have been on a couple of walks myself and noticed bulging walls. However, I have an inside track to Ernesto, and I contacted him via email, and that wall is now repaired. However, you don't have that inside track, but you do have resident services. And we are going to be asking, and I'll say so again in my little presentation on MNC, if you see something, say something. And these types of things are infrastructure issues that need to be addressed within our community. And unfortunately, the people and staff are not clairvoyant. They don't have this vision to see where these things are, and they can't be every place all the time. So as a result of that, it's very important for those people that see those types of things, cracking walls, at least somebody can go out there and inspect it and see whether or not it's stabilized. If it's not stabilized, then we can take care of it. If it is stabilized, then we can say, okay, we can delay this and not put it on a priority to fix. But those type of safety issues are very important. And I'm asking everybody in the audience, and I'm going to ask again during my presentation, if you see something, say something. please notify resident services if you see those types of things happening. And that's all I can say on that matter, okay? Because we are not going to be, we're not perfect. We're not going to be every place all the time. And you're going to have to be our eyes and ears. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member have a comment? Okay. There was one more comment, and he couldn't stay, so he left it. And it's Mr. Oberman, who has been here before. And this kind of is, I guess, to Jeff or Siobhan, wanting to know if we have a start date for the construction on that new maintenance horse trail in the back, and the extra long shepherd's crooks along the back wall, when they would start installing those. So hoping maybe you have some information on that. Would one of you like to respond? Siobhan?
With regard to the paving, that will take place in late October to mid-November. That is the timeframe for the contractor.
Okay. Okay. And I know the shepherd hooks are not something that happen tomorrow. We put them on a list, but there are other items that have already been scoped out and worked on that, and the shepherd's hooks ordered. So it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. It's a shame. We are a wonderful, large community. And so a number of our residents, because I get these calls all the time as president, I literally do. And when they make a suggestion, a comment, a complaint, they expect it to be fixed the next day. And I'm afraid it usually doesn't work that way unless it's a real dire emergency. We have to have a work schedule. We have to order materials. There's all kinds of things that go into that. So we're happy to have you ask for start date like this late October. I know they wanted it earlier, but that's when we have it scheduled with the contractor that will be doing those kinds of things. So I know it's difficult to ask for patience, but that's about all we can do in a community that is this large. Yes, Sue?
Andre would like to comment.
I will ask for his comment in just a moment. Thank you. Okay. Jeff, did you have any response on these?
On the landscaping one, I just wanted to, we'll verify our scheduling, and we'll get back to Mike and coordinate with him, make sure he knows when we're next going to be out there, so we'll do that. I think that one of the things that Carl mentioned was that the M&C group is looking at the issue of retaining walls and addressing that, so we'll continue to look at that. So if we get that information, we can go out and take a look at that specific wall. I did want to say, I guess, thank you in the sense that Kurt and his landscaping crew have been doing a major effort to get the creek up to speed and better shape. And that includes a dialogue that we had with regards to actually identifying what part of the creek is GRF's and what part of the creek is United, so the landscaping around it, so that we can identify who's responsible for what. And we'll continue to work on that. And got the start date with regards to the construction. So I think that addresses the issues that I had.
Thank you very much. All right, Andre, you had a comment. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know why I got silenced because I was yelling out, I need to comment. And I was told that was the rule, that I need to tell people that I need to talk. But when I talked, it was,
All right.
I got silenced.
Andre, I will ask for your comment whenever there is discussion or a comment. You do not need to, nor would you be, it would be right for you to yell out. You are muted in between. So go ahead and make your comment.
Does anybody know I want to? No, I was talking quietly, but nobody responded me, and I was silenced. That's why I yelled. I thought maybe I didn't talk loud enough to you guys.
All right, would you make your comment, please?
I just want to know. Okay, the comment is about landscape issue. For the past 3 years, I've been asking for the frequency of these of the landscape works, and we can never get passed by the landscape chair, and that is the issue. Nobody knows when they're going to be done. Nobody knows how often it can be done, and that is the issue. The chair needs to take a responsibility and look at this issue before it happens. Not just say we don't know what's going on and we will let staff take care of those issues. As far as issues that happen with creek and that area, I'm sure there are a lot of staffs working on the spot. And so rather than say we are not everywhere, we are actually everywhere. Okay, the staff are not everywhere. So it is essential that the staff needs to report these issues, or when the residents talk to staff, they need to report the issues. So if we have to, as a resident, to do everything for VMS, then we are not doing our job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre.
Hello?
All right. Maggie, do you have a
Hello?
response?
Thank you, Andre, for all of your wonderful advice. We know the schedules, it's just keeping the schedules, and that's the difficulty. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to the next issue, and that's responses from the August Open Forum. Director Margolis?
Mark Luftig of 2121C complained about the noise in the adjacent manor. The procedure is 4 people from compliance come out and do an ad hoc test to try to mediate the parties. If the complainant is not satisfied, they can mutually request a true sound test. The mutual does not pay for the test. It's about $900, and the party who is at fault pays for the test. And that's how these things are handled. So if you have a complaint, that's how it's handled. Carlos Sosa of 379N has a difficult neighbor. Security, the board, and legal counsel are aware of the problem, but due to legalities, we're not able to disclose the current procedures that are being followed. So I'm sorry about that. Cynthia Ruper of 165A commented on the Handyman program. The task force is hard at work. Maxine McIntosh commented on the spending of the GRF board and has requested we do a survey. Hopefully we'll have time to do the survey in the fall, but right now we're busy with budget. Roberta Burke requested, of 933B, requested that security determine an escape route for the Corner Creek area. Tim Moy walked the area surrounding the building to check for potential fire hazards and possible evacuation routes. Roberta and he discussed the options she had in evacuating her building in an event of fire in the creek bed. There's several walkways leading to cul-de-sacs where she can access her vehicle. He identified 4 routes for her, and if necessary, she could use a golf cart or scooter to go from one point to another. They discussed these options, and she was appreciative of the input, and she will share it with her neighbors. So if you're a neighbor and worrying, go to Roberta. Kurt Weimer of Landscape will be contacted, and he will have his team look at the growth in the area that could be of the creek that could be fuel for a fire. Joe Fitzen of 405D also commented on GRF spending, and that's the report.
Thank you, Director Margolis. All right, we will go on to item number 9 on the agenda, and that is our VMS report from our United Director, Mary Stone.
Good morning.
We need the mic.
Thank you. Good morning. There, that's better. Although communication challenges vary, the basic problem is how can we get our messages across so people know what we're trying to say? And VMS, you got my presentation? Oh, that way. Okay, thank you. VMS had to face the communication challenge and found the solution in the person of Eileen Paulin. Eileen was hired in February 2018 and immediately set up the new marketing and communications department. An update was presented at the August 21st VMS board meeting. The marketing and communications department was established 18 months ago, and the marketing and communication team has made many improvements through various channels of communication. These are some of the channels they are focusing on: posters and flyers, village website, newsletters, electronic communications, village television, and PowerPoint presentations. We now have consistent messages delivered through reliable platforms. A new improved format of the Friday e-blast telling us what's up in the village was launched in July. The monthly Village Breeze fills its pages with interesting articles from GRF and the mutuals. And if anybody's looked at the last Village Breeze, they saw that there's a scavenger hunt going on at the towers. That kind of caught my eye. Regular calendars and event promotions help us plan our entertainment schedules. Improved quality and appeal of promotional flyers, calendars, and posters enhance the image of Laguna Woods Village. And various newsletters are delivered regularly for security, transportation, recreation, and the garden centers. Electronic communications have been improved. More than 3/4 of village residents now subscribe. Stellar has been customized to quickly target and send emails to residents affected by unscheduled power outages or facility closures, etc. Village news and club events are regularly posted to the website, and current Chyron messaging is shown on the bottom of the screen of Village TV. That's a little running thing at the bottom. What is it called? Crawl. Well, no, but it's CHYRON. But it's the crawl. Yeah, thank you. The marketing and communications team is coordinating Village TV programming to assure concise, consistent messages to residents. They are also working with staff and board members to assure that their presentations communicate messages consistency as well. The website improvements are endless. Making searches easier and more user-friendly tops the list. The resident portal is now working and training classes are being conducted village-wise. Residents are able to access their accounts and request service, make payments, or update information. A large volume of information is continuously being delivered. Information about recreation events and classes, pool and fitness center schedules, transportation information, updates and schedules regarding alterations, landscape, maintenance, security, social services, and resident services, important village phone numbers, information from VMS staff and board members, and helpful articles. Information is available to you from all of these various sources: the publications, television, mailed hard copies, monitors. We have monitors at the community center and performing arts center. Electronic communications and website. It's up to you to take advantage of all the communication opportunities we have in the village. And one more thing. If you see at the upper left corner of the website picture, in the middle there, at the top, it says Code Red. Code Red, we have 5,000 residents enrolled from 2018 to 2019. We are a Code Red community. When seconds count, we want to keep residents informed. Using Code Red, VMS and government agencies of all types can easily deliver targeted, time-sensitive information using voice, text, email, the integrated public alert warning system, etc., to any individual opting into the service. We may not have to worry about a storm surge, but there are other events of major concern for us. Please, if you have not yet filled out an emergency contact form, you are urged to do so. You have several choices for returning the contact form. Drop it off in person at the Community Center Concierge Desk. Mail it, attention, Communications Department, 24351 El Toro Road, Laguna Woods, California, 92637. Or you can just go to the village website, lagunawoodsvillage.com, and then on the home page, you just click on that code red. You complete the form online, click the blue button, submit. I thank you for your attention to this matter and hope that you directors will attend the next open VMS board meeting on October the 16th. Ernesto Munoz will present an update on the Maintenance and Construction Department. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I would just like to add to that. There's an old saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, we provide the water abundantly.
Yes.
Just
yes.
in the last few years, those of us who've been around for a few years know how many different ways now you can get information about what's going on in this very large village. And not just for United and the co-ops, but what's happening in the condos, what's happening in the towers, what's happening with GRF. Information is out there, but you have to look. We can't spoon feed you with all of it. But all of the different things that she talked about are wonderful opportunities for you to find out what's going on in the village that you are a part of. So I hope you use them.
And every time people call me, I turn on my computer and I go to the website and I look it up. They can do it too, and they can be just like me, know everything.
And it's
right?
amazing how much information there is
Oh,
on our
terrific.
improved website.
Absolutely
So
terrific.
Start using it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. As I mentioned last month when we selected a new director to the VMS board, each of the corporations has 3 members on the VMS board, and they give a report every 3rd month in ours, and we have 2 of our directors with us today, Mary Stone and Dick Rader, and Dorothy, I think, is out docenting. So it's very nice to be able to have this good relationship with our representatives on the VMS board. Okay, next is number 10, and that's our CEO and COO report.
Thank you, Madam President, and to the board. Have 3 items this morning, and then I'll turn it over to Siobhan. She has some additional information to provide. The first one was I just wanted to give the board an update on SB 754. That is our acclamation piece of legislation that has been pushed through the state legislature this year. And Senator Morlock has been carrying that, now co-sponsored by our Assemblywoman, Petrie Norris, so that's good news. It has passed the Senate, it has passed all the committees in the Assembly, it is on the Assembly floor. It's supposed to be taken up today and tomorrow relative to some minor amendments that were made, and then off to the governor's desk, we hope and we believe by the end of the week. Literally Friday is the last day. All bills have to be passed out of both houses and onto the governor's desk. I think this piece of legislation this year has been wrestled by all the groups that have made input, and I think we have a bill that we have a pretty good shot, hopefully, getting the governor to sign this year as opposed to vetoing it, which ultimately gives the opportunity for the mutuals to save money if they run into a situation where they don't have enough candidates. In the case of United, you have plenty of candidates this time, so it wouldn't affect that situation. The second one I wanted to mention was, I had mentioned to the board previously that last week, one of the big areas that we've been trying to evaluate and address and become more efficient at is in our resident requests that they make and through resident services, and how those requests and tickets, as we call them, get then moved on to the departments and how they get addressed. We had an all-hands-on meeting with all our departments and resident services, and went through the process, specifically looking at certain areas where we have had claims, where we've had residents who have called back numerous times and the connection just hasn't been made, or there's been times where people have not received information on a timely basis. So we walked through that. It was a great meeting. I think it was enlightening, especially for me being newer to the organization, on areas that we could make some improvements. So our next step now is that we've asked each of the department heads, based on that information, to squeeze this information down to an operational element and how we can take that next operational step to increase our efficiency and getting back to our residents and making sure our appointments are done appropriately. The last thing, I'm going to take a sip of water here. Kind of fighting a little cold, so I apologize for that. The last thing is on your agenda today, as the president indicated, is items number 12, B, and C, which is your 2020 business plan and capital items. And I just wanted to indicate again, a thank you to the board for all the meetings that you've sat through with the staff, developing the questions that you had and developing the budget. As you know, we went through a process of kind of doing, answering everything that we could, kind of putting everything in the basket that we thought we could use and need. And as you know, we came up with an original budget that had a pretty high assessment. We came back to you and met with you on that first meeting after that, and you indicated and directed us to see where we could hone that down, whittle that down, and make some improvements and cut that budget down. And we did that, and when we came back to version 2, we had gotten the assessment down to about 4.3%. At that last meeting, we also took a few more pieces of information, and now what we're presenting to you today, obviously, is a budget that has total assessments of $601.98. That's an increase of 4.1% over last year. It is a $23.46 increase. That includes the GRF contribution. There are a couple areas that I wanted to focus on. You have been committed to, and you can continue to commit to working and moving forward in your capital expenditures to address the water line issues. The epoxy water line budget for next year is $2.3 million. Very significant. That's actually up from $2.1 million this year. It is a program that you have indicated to staff that that's what you want us to work on. It's expensive, but in the long term, it creates what I think you want, which is security for your buildings and your operation up there. Legal fees have gone up this year, and for two reasons. One, we just looked at past experience for United itself, and then a part of a new approach to the budgeting. Instead of all of the legal fees for VMS going towards GRF, those legal fees now have been appropriately, in my opinion, spread to all of the mutuals, including GRF. So that did increase your legal budget. So that's been addressed in there, and so that's one of the increases. Utilities have increased across the board. Water, which you don't control, unfortunately, continues to go up, and we've seen two increases. One that happened in July, one that's going to happen again in next July by El Toro, so we budgeted for that. And then last but not least, probably one of the most significant things that you had a lot of dialogue about was your reserve plan. And that is a 30-year reserve plan in which we hire an outside consultant to give us an evaluation of whether or not we're putting enough money in, what monies that we need to put aside to make sure that we have replacement values in that 30-year plan. And that 30-year plan, the most significant thing that from a staff point of view is that it assures that you're not going into a category where you're going to have special assessments. For those in the audience, and certainly I learned very quickly in here that we never had a special assessment in the history. And so it is through your creative and smart management of your money that in this kind of 30-year reserve plan that allows you to keep that. Under the new reserve plan that was conducted, And with certainly staff's recommendation that you move forward with it, there is a $4.02 increase in that part of your assessment for your reserves. There was a lot of dialogue on the board about potentially cutting the amount of money going into reserves, which would obviously reduce the assessments. But certainly staff recommends that you continue with what is recommended, the $4.02 increase in your reserve plan. And there will be increases in future years into your reserve plan to do what, if you look at the document, is to make sure that we always stay in the category of having as much reserves as possible, but minimally staying out of the red category, as I call it, which puts you in high risk of ever having special assessments. And with this plan and moving forward with this recommendation, you are putting yourself in a position that in the next 30 years, you won't be in that position of ever being financially in a situation of looking at a high risk for that. So appreciate the fact that the board is considering that. We'll look forward to your action on the 2020 plan on items 12, B, and C. And that's all I had to report, and I'll turn it over to Siobhan.
Honorable President, members of the board, I have a quick update on 468D. The landscape crew will be at your unit at the end of the week, and you will be hearing from them in advance of that so we can get everything coordinated and back on schedule. Pool 4 will be closed beginning Monday, September 16th through the end of the year. This is for a construction project replacing the rooftop patio deck coating and removing concrete to upgrade a drainage structure in that area. Work will take place Monday through Friday with occasional Saturday work as needed. We have some good news for those who love to garden. Landscaping will now be picking up garden clippings every Friday morning. To have your clippings picked up, please place them in a pile near the curb on Friday mornings by 7 a.m. and inform resident services by 5 p.m. the day before that you have clippings to be picked up. That's a new service that we are offering. On Friday, September 13th, the toll roads will be hosting a Stick and Go event at Clubhouse 3. This is to help residents affix the new sticker transponders that the toll roads are using to their windshields. You need to bring your own sticker transponder with you, and they will help, again, affix that, and there will also be some giveaways. If you do not have an account with the toll roads but would like one prior to the event, you may call 949-727-4800. Again, that's 949-727-4800. The event is this Friday, September 13th at 9 a.m. in the Clubhouse 3 parking lot. On Saturday, September 14th, this upcoming Saturday at 9 a.m., again at Clubhouse 3, is the Village Earthquake Expo. Here you can experience the 8.0 Quake Cottage and actually feel what an 8.0 earthquake feels like. View the Northridge earthquake documentary, Quake Heroes, and check out vendor information and earthquake safety supplies. The guest speaker for this event is Mark Benthian. He's the Director for Communication, Education, and Outreach for Southern California Earthquake Center at the University of Southern California. He's also the Executive Director of the Earthquake Country Alliance. This is the organizer of the Great California Shakeout. Attendance is limited, so please RSVP as soon as possible. You can RSVP to Debbie Ballesteros in the Security Department, and she can be reached at 949-268-2356. There is also a Scam Stopper event coming up at the Performing Arts Center, Clubhouse 3. This will occur on Thursday, September 19th at 10 a.m. California Assemblywoman Petri Norris will hold this seminar, and it features topics such as how to prevent identity theft, auto repair, construction, Medicare, foreign lotteries, and mail fraud. Again, this is Thursday, September 19th at 10 a.m. in the Performing Arts Center. And just a reminder that Monday Night Football kicked off last night, and this year we have a new venue for Monday Night Football viewing. This is being held at the club rooms at the Village Greens 19 Restaurant and Lounge. The games begin at 5 p.m., and the free event features happy hour cocktail pricing, weekly food specials, and free chips and salsa. So if you're interested, next Monday night at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to item 11, which is our consent calendar. Matters listed on the consent calendar are recommended for action by the various committees who have sent them to the board and will be enacted by the board on one motion. In the event that an item is removed from the consent calendar by a member of our board for further discussion, we'll do that to begin with. We have 4 items from the Landscape Committee, recommendations to approve landscape revisions and tree removals. And we have 1 item, which is our usual review of the mutual financials for the month of July. May I have a motion to, is there anyone that wants to remove anything from the consent calendar? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the consent calendar? Cash? Is there a second?
I'll second.
How about Raisa? Thank you. All right, all of those in favor of the consent calendar, can we get the voting screen up, please? And Andre, if you would, please give your vote to Daniel.
I vote for yes.
All right, thank you. Unanimous. All right, we will go on to item 12, which is our unfinished business. These are things that were presented at our August meeting, or in the case of B and C, our business plan and reserve funding have been looked at over the last 4 months. I have to take a little issue with something that our CEO said about our sitting through these meetings. We actively participated in all of these meetings. And so the budget that we are bringing you is not just something that was given to us. It's something that we have all helped to develop. So the first item is a motion to adopt a revised resolution to allow guarantors for prospective members. And it's been on the 28-day notification. Madam Secretary, would you summarize that for us?
Okay, this is to allow guarantors. This is guarantors either reside in California, and their obligation and their guarantee and security documents evidence California assets. So it is a California guarantor with California assets. And this is what makes it okay. Prior times, we had out-of-state or out-of-country assets which we could not pursue legally. And so this makes guarantors possible, but the assets and the guarantor must be in California. So that is the essence of the change and why we are putting forth this resolution to, again, have guarantors with this limitation.
Read the now for their.
Oh, yes. Be it, now therefore, be it resolved that the following resolution is adopted by the Board of Directors. Personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement. The corporation by and through the Board of Directors is authorized to enter into personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement in the manner and form attached hereto as Exhibit A, and incorporated herein by reference thereto, and such personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement will bind the corporation. Specifically, the corporation may accept from guarantors located in California a guarantee to pay a member's debt and/or obligation should the member default or otherwise fail to pay a debt or obligation owed to the corporation pursuant to an executed personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement, and to cause security documents which the corporation may require, which shall evidence the California assets pledged by such guarantor. The guarantee and security agreement includes not only a promise to pay, but identifies the guarantor's means to pay the security or collateral, and authorizes the creditor, which is United, to file UCC financing statements with respect to the security or collateral in California. This option, the filing of a UCC financing statement with the Secretary of State, creates collateral and secures United's debt. Further, the Board of Directors may, it should be an S on directors, the Board of Directors may do and perform such other acts and things as may be reasonably necessary in proper order to carry into effect the provisions of this resolution, including but not limited to revising the current operative financial qualifications policy, that's 52318, to allow prospective members to meet the corporation's financial qualifications and to revise such other documentation as may be necessary and appropriate. Be it further resolved that the officers, directors, and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
Do I have a second? Okay, Raisa? Thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt the revised resolution to allow guarantors for prospective members. Is there any discussion on this matter? I have one. Okay, Cash?
My only concern is it's very good, but I don't see why the guarantor has to reside in California. As long as the assets are in California, that should be sufficient. We
No,
don't
you-
want to further restrict it.
You can't go after them if they're not in California.
But you are going with the state of California and getting the option that
We just don't
UCC
have
financing
legal,
statement.
we don't have legal jurisdiction in other states to
Oh,
make
is it?
them pay. All right, Gary?
Yeah, we just lost $15,000 because we could not pursue another state.
Because the assets were in the state.
No, because
No.
the person wasn't here
Yeah.
on the assets. All right, is there any other discussion? Andre, did you have discussion on this item?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. I think we are trying to limit to the 1% mistake or 0.1% problem, and limiting the rest of 99.9% request. I don't know how many cases we have outside of California that's delinquent. I don't remember that many, so maybe we need to consider that. But I will vote for yes. Finally, after all the years, the rumors and the fears are all subside, and now people are coming over, come to senses and say, yes, this will help our property value. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, can we get the screen for a vote for this, please, Daniel?
One resident. would
Oh,
like
I'm
to speak.
sorry, we
Roberta
do have
Burke.
one, Roberta Burke.
It's like knocking my head against a stone wall.
Excuse me, Roberta.
Roberta Burke, 933B. I'm here for two reasons. Number one, I'm here to request being grandfathered because it was my understanding when I moved in that the policy existed. And I spent a great deal of money, and so have many other, not many, and so have a few other people in this community, fixing up a unit with the intentions that one of my children might live there. The second reason that I'm here is that I believe this policy is totally wrong, and I'm requesting that even though you've spent so much time going over it back and forth and removing it, and I believe that the reason why you're doing this now is
because real estate agents have put pressure on you. For over 20 years, approximately 300 people or 300 units have requested guarantees. Up until this, which I don't believe is a loss, I believe you just haven't gotten the money yet, but I can't be sure of that, there really have been no problems. And if there was a problem, how many problems could there have been? Because for years, the board members have been telling me there was no problem with guarantors. The mistake that was made was that the association allowed outside people to become guarantors and made it a business. And that business, and I was told this directly by board members, and that business with the same pocket of money guaranteed 5 different units. Because the boards in the past, or this board, I don't know, have made a mistake. Why should we as residents who have lived here, loved living here, our children have visited here, and our children want to live here and add to this community? And we have, some of us, as I said, have spent a great deal of money in anticipation. Why should we be suffering for such a small amount of possible problem that you have? Out of the country? Of course. Leave it to, all you had to do was change it to family. That's all you had to do. And now, with a community of so many people coming from out of state, you're limiting it to out of state, to in-state guarantors. It's ridiculous. You've spent so much time back and forth on an issue that wasn't an issue. I think you must just sit there and, oh, what should we do today? Let's get lights in this community. Let's spend our time on that. I appreciate and respect the amount of time you all put in, but I have to tell you, this was unnecessary time, and so are a great deal of other things. And perhaps we would be doing better with the choice of board members and the amount of people who want, the choice of people who want to be board members and the amount of people who are willing to run if we cut back on time and stop bothering with things that are so small and so petty that help somebody else.
All right, your time is up, Roberta.
Everything that helps us is being taken away.
Thank you, Roberta. I don't have any other speakers, so would you put the voting screen up, please, Daniel? We are voting to adopt the revised resolution to allow guarantors. All right, it passes. Yeah.
You said yes.
Did you? Yeah, he said yes when he was on before.
Yeah.
You just need to put him on there. All right, so it passes 8 yeas, 1, and 1 abstention. Okay. All right, item B. Would you read the motion, please, to approve the 2020 business plan?
Resolved September 10th, 2019, that the business plan of this corporation for the year 2020 is hereby adopted and approved. Further resolved further that pursuant to said business plan, the Board of Directors of the corporation hereby estimates that the net sum of $42,162,864 is required by the corporation to meet the United Laguna Woods Mutual operating expenses and reserve contributions for the year 2020. In addition, the sum of $15,599,776 is required by the corporation to meet the Golden Rain Foundation and the Golden Rain Foundation Trust operating expenses and reserve contributions for the year 2020. Therefore, a total of $57,762,640 is required to be collected from and paid by the members of the corporation as monthly assessments. Resolved further that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves expenditures from reserves in the sum of $14,389,320, of which $12,980,578 is planned from the reserve fund and $1,408,742 from the contingency fund. Resolved further that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby determines and establishes monthly assessments of the corporation as shown on each member's breakdown of monthly assessments for the year 2020, inclusive of property taxes and property insurance as filed in the records of the corporation, and set assessments to be due and payable by the members of this corporation on the first day of each month. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Gary, thank you. All right, is there any discussion on this? Let's see. Anybody on the board? Andre, did you wish to discuss this?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. First, I would like to say, yes, we dropped down from $47 to $24, cut about half of that. However, my concern is that why don't we start looking at how to cut waste? There's many residents that talk about the waste that we've experienced so far. They've seen something, they've said something. Let's have something done. And also, the corporation. I don't know any corporation that doesn't look into cutting waste. There is every corporation looks at cut waste, and if the board doesn't say something. If we watch their money, watch the residents' money, if we don't say something, who will say something for them? So I will vote no for this budget, and I think that we need to look into what's good for the corporation and what's good for the residents and what's the best way to prepare a budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre. All right, there were, Maxine, did you wish to speak to this? No. I guess it was last, sorry. I had you on my, there. All right. Let's get the voting screen, please, Daniel. If you would all please vote on the motion to approve the 2020 United Business Plan. All right, it passes with a vote of 8 in favor and 2 against. All right, item C, we'll entertain a motion to approve the 2020 United Reserve Funding Plan. Madam Secretary, would you read that?
2020 Reserve Fund Resolution. Whereas Civil Code 5570 requires specific reserve funding disclosure statements for common interest developments, and whereas planned assessment or other contributions to reserves must be projected to ensure balances will be sufficient at the end of each year to meet the corporation's obligations for repair and or replacement of major components during the next 30 years, now therefore be it resolved September 10th, 2019, that pursuant to Civil Code Section 5560, the board hereby adopts the 30-year reserve funding plan attached, prepared by Association Reserves for fiscal year 2020, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
Okay, do I have a second? All right, Cash. All right, is there any discussion from the board? Andre, do you have discussion on this item?
Yes. Looking at agenda item 12B and 12C, page 24 of 32. Okay, the executive summary there. Currently, our reserve percentage fund is 38.6%, and our target goal is 30%. So there's an 8%, almost 9% excess to the our target assessment reserve. Now, I'm considering myself that why are we putting so much extra in the reserve? Some people say we need them as much as possible. However, at this point, our infrastructures are in big problem. We have big problem with them. We need money to fix them. That's what the reserve is for. And we are holding these assets and not spending them in the name of we need more assets. I think this is time that we need to spend them on the reserve, use as the purpose of the reserve, spend on the sewage issues, spend on the dry rot issues, spend on all the issues that we have, instead of just keeping them in the bank. My concern is that it's like you're telling your kids, sorry, I cannot send you to school because I need as much reserve as possible. When you need it, you spend it. The reserve is the purpose of what we need to do at this point. So I'm voting for no on this reserve. I want the money spent we are not cutting the reserve. We are spending the reserve where it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Maggie?
Yes, as the mover of this motion, I get the last word. The sheet on page 7 of 32 shows the new red part. If you look up at 2022, that was red in the survey, the $50,000 reserve plan survey recommendation. We were had we followed the current plan, we were at the high risk level in 2022. With this change, we have moved the high risk level down to 2026, and we'll continue to move it further and further down so that we will not be at high risk very soon for special assessments. Special assessments are an undue hardship for retired seniors. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on the board? Carl?
There's, in my MNC report, I made a statement at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm going to repeat it in my MNC report, but basically the gist of that was the fact that our reserves are being utilized by MNC with regard to projects. And you'll see the project log, and everybody's seen the project log. I pointed to it a number of times. I even pointed to it on TV. And the project log has a number of projects on there that we're addressing. One of those is infrastructure. And the infrastructure work that needs to get done in this community is extensive. We have infrastructure items that have to do with the waistline remediation, changing various different things, paint programs. I don't see how we're not spending this money. We may not be spending it as quickly as we'd like to, only because of the fact that some of the projects get delayed. But for next year, we have anticipating doing a lot of work within the project log. This year, we had to increase our budget, and we borrowed it from next year for the hot water heater. It's $900,000. I don't see how people can say that we're not using our reserve funds for the things that they need to be used for, because we have to get this work done. And I'll go into that a little bit more detail when I do my M&C presentation. So that's all I have to say about it. I think that the reserve funds are adequate at this particular point in time, and we're spending them.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right, Roberta? I'm sorry, Elsie. Hold on, Roberta. It just came up. Elsie, you had a comment?
I just wanted to, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out that on the updated 30-year reserve plan summary, which was updated on September the 3rd, net of interest income, we're actually scheduled to spend about $1 million more out of our reserves on planned projects than we're putting back in. So we're actually spending our reserves down, at least this year. That's net of interest, which is always variable. But it's not really a significant amount in this particular instance. It's $328,000 estimated interest income as opposed to expenses of $12,368,400. So my point is, we're spending a little bit more than we're actually putting in. Thank you.
Roberta?
Yes, I seem to remember that the very first meeting I went to when I moved to this community was a very big town hall kind of meeting. And the discussion was over the fact that there were no reserve funds. And the state subsequently, not long after that, unless I'm wrong, somebody tell me and I'll be quiet, the state mandated that all communities have a 30-year plan for reserves. Does anyone know if I'm wrong and talking out of order?
We do have such.
No, we have it now, but we only have it because I got into a huge conversation with a board member about how could you not have reserves, okay? So it was a big to-do. At any rate, I'm questioning now whether or not that money was supposed to be for replacement of or repairs of and so forth. And it was calculated on a 30-year basis. That's what the state mandated. My question is, when we did the solar project, did any money for that come out of the reserves? Number one. Number two, are we using monies out of those reserves for things other than replacing what the things that break down and the things that go wrong, the things that have to be fixed, or the things that are unfortunately mandated by the city? Are our reserves being used for other things other than that? Thank you.
Okay. Mary? I saw you waving your hand.
Oh, you saw me cringing. Mary Stone, 356C. We've had reserves since 1965 when the FHA required us to have reserves. And after and they were requiring a specific percentage of our operating expenses had to be put into reserves. And after we paid the loans, we continued that because, the loans weren't paid off until the 2000s. And so by then, the Davis-Sterling Act suggested or requires a reserve plan. It doesn't require any specific amounts. So we, in Janet Price's time, I think it was, when she was our financial director, she suggested the threshold plan that we have, which is a minimum, we keep a minimum amount that we don't go below that. But when we have a reserve study, they also have different plans that they suggest. But we've had a reserve plan since the very beginning, and I hope we continue to have reserve plans, and they've worked. We're over 50 years old and have never had a special assessment. If you go to any of the CAI training classes on finance, you will find that a lot of associations have very high special assessments. And I think our reserve specialist was surprised that we've never had a special assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Roberta, I might just mention that the reserve plan is divided into two different places. We have repair replacement, and we also have the contingency fund. And the contingency fund is for projects that come up in the middle of the year, something we haven't planned for, et cetera. And that's what the solar came out of, was the contingency, not our regular reserve fund. And I might mention that because of the terrible rains that we had this year, all of a sudden we found that we have a real drainage problem. and it's affecting the building structures. And it's something that we had not planned excessively for. We had some money in the reserves for it. And so we had to up what we're going to be using from the reserves. That's what reserves are for. Every year, every couple of years, there's going to be something new that comes up that is not in that 30-year plan. And that's why we have to have the reserves. That's not correct. All right, no other comments? Would you put the vote screen up, please? Okay, I believe Andre voted against it, Daniel.
Director Bastani, can I have your vote? Thank you.
All right, the reserve plan passes, 9 in favor and 1 against. Okay. All right, let's go down to the next item, which is new business. And we removed or tabled 13A, so we'll go to 13B. Entertain a motion to introduce a resolution prohibiting all new planting of fruit trees and vegetables in common areas. Would you read that, please, Madam Secretary?
Yes, I'll read this whole thing. It's pretty explanatory. Whereas fruit trees and vegetables in the common area were planted by or at the request of members as part of the Yellow Stake program, fruit trees and vegetables are not maintained or trimmed by the mutual and are the responsibility of the member to maintain. The maintenance of fruit trees and vegetables is passed on to new members with the purchase of the residence. Fruit trees and vegetable gardens as are known to attract and are a food source for wildlife and rodents, and unmaintained fruit trees exacerbate the problem. And whereas 2 garden centers have been provided by the Golden Rain Foundation for the purpose of providing a place for residents to grow vegetables or other crops, whereas there has been a consistent increase in rodent activity over the past 6 years, that is 1,000 more calls. Now therefore be it resolved, as of January 1st, 2020, the Board of Directors of the corporation hereby prohibits the planting that would be of, not on, of any fruit trees in common area, and requires members to maintain existing fruit trees on common area and in exclusive use common areas. Resolve further, the planting of vegetables in the common area is prohibited. To maintain the health and safety of the members, fruit trees found to be unmaintained will be removed with notice by the mutual. Resolve further, existing fruit trees and vegetables in the common area are to be removed in the resale process. Resolve further, resolution number U-84-129, adopted August 28, 1984, and resolution number U-84-130, also adopted on August 28, 1984, are hereby superseded in their entirety and no longer in effect. Resolved further that the officers or agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Carrie. Now, this is a motion to postpone it for 28 days. Final vote will take place at our November meeting. We do not have a October business meeting, so it's more than 28 days, but it fits into Code 4360, which requires at least 28 days. All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll start with Sue.
I will vote against this for these reasons. There are not enough garden, and all the tree plots in the garden centers are already allocated. So there isn't any way that anybody can use the garden centers if they want to do this. The rats will just go into the carports and eat the wires of the cars, which they are currently doing. So there isn't any reason, I mean, we need pest control, not to just take away the nicety of being able to walk out my door and pick a lemon. So I don't see that there's any room for 7,000 trees in the current garden centers, and I think this is another one of these rules.
Okay, let's see. Cash?
I kind of agree with Director Margolis. I also have one more concern here. Existing fruit trees and vegetables in common area to be removed in the sale process. Are you trying to implement this in the first inspection report so that the new buyers are aware? At times, the cost of removing these trees can be a make or break the deal. Some trees can be quite expensive to remove for the new buyer if he knows that clearly in the first inspection report.
They have to be removed by the seller.
Removed by the seller. Okay. It will clearly state that so that the buyers know what they're getting into.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, Elsie?
Thank you. I just lost my place, which is not unusual. But the part that talks about, I don't know if I should propose an amendment. Well, yeah, I will. Why not? I would like to amend the motion, is that correct? I want to amend the motion to eliminate the third resolved further. The one dealing with existing fruit trees and vegetables in common area are to be removed in the oh wait, no, that isn't the one I want to remove. Please excuse me. The one, I thought there was a thing that said they were going to tear out all the ones in the, that are already there. Yeah, just the ones.
Yes, it only if they are untended, unmaintained.
Okay, then I retract my amendment. I'm sorry, I've read this over several times, but they keep blending together for me. I just see them tearing down all of our trees.
No.
To maintain the health and safety of the members, fruit trees found to be unmaintained will be removed with notice. You know what? I withdraw my objections completely. Please excuse me. I'm sorry, I read it over before, but now I'm positive. Thank you.
No problem. Let's see, next I have Carl.
Yeah, I am in total agreement with Director Margolis and Director Akakar. I'm going to be voting against this. I think this is a bridge too far, and so under the circumstances, yeah, you need to maintain some of these fruit trees, and they should be maintained, but, you know, they've just been hacking away all the trees in my part of the village right now, and my wife's not very happy, so I am going to be against this. Thank you.
Maggie?
Thank you. This is for unmaintained fruit trees. The calls have gone up 1,000 more calls for rats per year. Dead fruit on the ground, neglected fruit on the ground is a heavy cause of the increase of rats. Now, once we have the increase of rats like we have now, then those living rats have little baby rats many, 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 many times. If we allow the fruit to remain on the ground of these unmaintained trees, are we to send our landscape to remove the fruit off the ground? What are we to do? Or are we just to let the rats feed away and breed away? So it is a never-ending, blossoming problem. This is for unmaintained trees with notice from the mutual. those will be removed, and you may not plant new ones. So nobody's hurt by having their beautifully maintained tree. Nobody's hurt by that. So the new buyer has had no experience with the fruit tree or anything like that. If it's removed in that process, they'll simply be told, the lemon tree that you see over here will be removed before you move in. It's no big loss for them. So this is the best we can do to control it. There is no punishment if you maintain it. The rat problem is huge and increasing, and you can just ask why we have so many rats chewing at the wires. Because we have so many rats. And then the food problem becomes greater and greater and greater and greater, exponentially. So this is to try and curb some of the food solution for the rats. Thank you.
Okay. Next, Reza.
I'm also against this. My experience is that trees take a long time to grow. Cutting them is very easy. But we have to find another way of this unmaintained things. Maybe we can put more effort in notifying the owners that they have to take care of it. Or maybe we can get wild cats to eat the mice.
That's all we need is feral cats in this community. Thank you. Elsie?
I think I finally zeroed in on it. What was bothering me before was the removal of the unmaintained trees, but I wasn't sure how that was going to be defined. And there are some fruit trees that really contribute to the neighborhood that aren't particularly associated with a particular manner. And that was the part that was really bugging, you know. So I'm back to not liking this again. That being said, sorry about that. That being said, I do think, I hate a lot of rules, but there really are a lot of people, especially with loquats and lemons, I notice for some reason they let them just fall on the ground and they pile up in stacks. They practically ferment. And I hate tons of rules, but I wish there was a way to, hey, if you want this tree here, well then pick up your damn fruit. Because neighbors can't pick it up. We've even had neighbors attacked by owners of trees because they picked up a couple of fallen fruit, even though there were 50 of them on the ground. You can't pick my, and they call and complain, well, those are my fruit, and if I want to let them on the ground, then, well, okay, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is who's eating that fruit. So I would really rather attack it from that angle. Thank you.
I would point out that it's only in common areas. It's not next to the units where people have their own. Sue?
Well, then I think we should watch them then. I mean, uneaten fruit is uneaten fruit.
It says common area.
It says existing fruit trees on common area and in exclusive use common area. That means your patio also. And no more new planting of any fruit trees.
Okay.
So if it's growing,
New planting, existing ones may continue to exist.
All right, Sue?
This is a problem of rodents, yes, and we need to take care of the rodent problem. And we need to have people take care of the fruit that's on the ground. There are a bunch of loquat trees that are in the common area that I see tons of people going out and picking from because they don't have them. And there are lemon trees near almost all homes. We need to take care of the rodents. We need to let everybody know that they need to pick up their fruit. They should not let it lay on the ground, and take care of this that way, not to make people start removing trees. Trees are a real pleasure to have in this community.
Thank you. All right, Maxine?
You need to call Andre first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Andre, you had a comment on this one?
Yes, I agree with Sue, Director Margolis' comments. If we have pest control problem, let's managed with the pest control issue. Not just cut off all the trees relate that we suspect that relate to the rats. I don't think there's any evidence that the rats are the source of the fruit trees are the source of the rats. So rather than cut off all the trees and cut off all the trees on the common ground, and I see that as a joy to see all these fruit trees all over the places. Okay, and as far as unmaintained trees, that is a debatable issue because we're talking about maybe what we can do is set up an ownership program. Every fruit tree needs to have an ownership, and the owner needs to maintain it, and that then becomes a compliance issue. Okay, rather than just say we take care of the fruit trees, we want them cut them before we don't think it's maintained. That's way too much effort on our staff effort side, and so I'm against it. I think it's a pest control issue. I think it's a sign-up issue to make sure it's like yellow stakes. If it is yellow stake there, let the resident take care of that. We cannot just say, the flower doesn't look good, and we're going to cut off the flowers. The trees doesn't look good, we'll cut off all the trees. That's not the right way to serve a community. And I understand from cooperation point of view, yes, you would like to do that. But I think from the resident point of view, no. Let's just think about alternatives that will make residents happy and make cooperation happy. Thank you.
Now, Maxine, it's your turn.
Several things here. One, the Yellow Stake program, about 22 years ago, United started that because of people complaining that they were planting things in their exclusive use area, which at that time we were told should not be more than 6 feet from the wall of your unit, and other people coming by and picking flowers or picking lemons, whatever it was. And so the yellow stakes, as I remember, were devised to be a signal to anybody. You do not pick these things. They're being maintained by me. Knock on my door if you want some, but don't help yourself. We had employees taking fruit a number of times, and the yellow stakes stopped that. The bit about vegetables, I think it was like 22 years ago, we said, you may not ever plant vegetables anywhere except at the garden center. And we made it really clear, and you didn't see vegetables in most of the flower beds. And I was walking everywhere and looking at flower beds for years there when I walked further than I do now. And I remember one woman had vegetables and had put a little wire fence around it and so forth. Didn't last long because we all knew you weren't to plant vegetables. That protects us. So it's a shame you even have to mention it here. This is the maintenance of fruit, trees, and vegetables is passed on to new members. And vegetables shouldn't even need to be in there because it suggests, I'm afraid, that go ahead and keep your vegetables going until you sell. Then they'll be torn out. I know you don't want that. So I think if there's some way you could write in here, as always, no vegetables are allowed to be grown anywhere in United. Then you don't need to make it sound like, you don't want to. You can keep your tomato plant in and your bell pepper plant, and we'll remove it when you sell the manor. About the trees, we were told, and when I was on the landscape committee, we reiterated that information. You must not allow fruit to be on the ground. And most of us didn't. And I inherited a home with 2 big fig trees. And during fruit season, of course, we liked figs, so we were out there picking them all the time and sharing them with neighbors. But we did not allow anything on the ground more than 1 day. And we didn't have a problem, not at all, until 7 years ago, the squirrels moved in. They're the big problem now. The squirrels came, even though their main food is the pine trees, they also like fruit. So now I always keep I removed 1 tree. I keep the other good one down below 7 feet all year round. I keep it trimmed, and I have my gardener wrap it in fish netting. and the squirrels can't get inside the fish netting, and I make little slits, pick the fruit I want, and put a clothespin there so I know where the slit is. So there are things we can do, but I would like to see vegetables enforced.
Okay, your time is up.
Okay, and limit miniature fruit trees to 6 feet. Keep them miniature.
Thank you. All right, our last speaker is Michael Landry.
Michael Ledger, 693B. Just for the sake of argument, fruits once a year. So you have a very short growing area. So the rats might show up for that short space of time. Case in point, about rats. I have a house in the high desert. There's not a piece of fruit anywhere within 5 miles of that damn thing, and it's eaten my wires out of my car. So you can't keep rats away. They're a necessary pain, unfortunately. But they're only here when the fruit is fruiting. And as far as the yellow tape, thank you, Maxine. I think it's a great idea. I have a lemon tree. My neighbors help themselves to it before they're even ripe. Oh, they must be limes because they're green. No, they're lemons that are not ripe, you dummies. So if the yellow tape will work, I'll tape as opposed to shooting BBs at my neighbors. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any more speakers. Oh, I'm sorry, Maggie.
Thank you. As the mover, I get the final speak. There are 6,323 units. Many of those are in multi-story buildings. We have currently 7,000 fruit trees. How are we doing? That's more than one per unit. And some units have 8, or some buildings have 8. We have enough lemon trees now to supply lemon juice for somebody. This is for untended lemon trees. It will be a maintenance issue. Landscape is already stretched to a spider's web thin allotment of time. Where will we get the people to clean up the mess under these trees? What will happen? Or we'll just ignore it because it only happens 6 months of the year or 3 months of the year. So you're saying we need more lemon trees. This is a moratorium on planting new lemon trees, and it is a removal of untended lemon trees. That means if you have a lemon tree in your place, fine, just maintain it, no problem. Why would you want a lemon tree and not maintain it? Why would your neighbors want you to have a lemon tree and not maintain it? The other solution is to let everybody pick all the fruit off of any tree they wanted. Then we wouldn't have any leftover fruit to fall on the ground because the neighbors would all pluck it off before you even got for them. So, thank you. This is for untended trees or at resale only. So think of the untended trees. Why would you want to allow untended trees to abound in United and more to be planted to be yet more untended? Thank you.
All right. Seeing no more speakers, that was the end. I'd like to call for the vote. Would you please vote? What we are voting on is a prohibition for new planting of fruit trees and vegetables in common area.
Andre.
Director Morrison, can I have your vote? And
Yeah, we got his. All right, the vote is 4 yes and 6 no, so the motion fails. 13C, I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution to go forward for vote at our next meeting. For unbudgeted expense of $5,800 to hire a land surveyor to determine the Aliso Creek boundaries. If you would.
This is 78 days.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, it's not a 28-day. This is just an unbudgeted expense. Thank you very much, Director. So would you read the resolution, please?
Okay, land survey of Aliso Creek boundaries. Whereas the Aliso Creek area landscape maintenance is the financial responsibility of the Golden Range Foundation, whereas the Aliso Creek area is bounded on both sides by United Laguna Woods Mutual, whereas the Aliso Creek area is a legally recorded parcel registered with the Orange County Assessor, whereas the physical boundaries are not marked or known, making it impossible to accurately ascertain the two property lines and determine the correct allocation of costs between the two mutuals, or actually United and GRF. It is not a two mutual, it is United and GRF. Whereas staff has engaged the service of a professional land surveyor to survey and mark the limits of the Aliso Creek parcel to enable staff to accurately allocate costs for maintenance of the area. Now therefore be it resolved September 10th, 2019, the Board of Directors does hereby authorize an unbudgeted expense of $5,800 in the operating fund for the cost of the land surveying services. I think we should say from the operating fund, thank you. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move this resolution.
And I might, thank you, Cash. I might point out that this is half of the amount. GRF is splitting it with us, and they're paying the other half for the survey, since it'll affect both of us. All right, is there any discussion on this particular motion? Andre, do you have a comment on this motion? Andre, are you there?
Yes, hello?
You have nothing on this?
Hello? Can you hear me? Yes. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Do you have discussion on item 13C?
I'm just curious. So over the past 55 years, we don't have any land surveyor decision on this, on the boundary. And by the way, is it really important to have it that precise? Just split money, I would say half and half will be good enough. That's my comment.
All right, thank you. So you're voting no?
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's see. Roberta.
Since I did not attend the meeting where all of this was discussed, I'd appreciate if you kind of answer me, even with a nod of your head. And I think everyone here on the board should know that GRF is responsible for the creek. There's no question about it, because a study was done not many years ago, because I brought up a big issue with Vector and the doctors in that building because of the creek. And they did do a study, and GRF is responsible for the creek. What I would like to know is if everyone at the meeting where they discussed all of this was aware that this creek is a riparian area, and riparian areas include the overflow areas. That means that even though water runs out onto what we normally may take care of, that becomes the responsibility of GRF. And I don't see that, and I think it's something you all should look into, because I don't see that we should be paying for any care and upkeep of anything, including the area that the water runs over onto our land. That creek is just like Clubhouse 2, Clubhouse 3, or anything under GRF's control. It does not belong to United. It's for anyone who lives in any of the other areas and mutuals to come and enjoy and sit and eat, relax, read a book, or whatever. It is no different than a clubhouse, and therefore the entire responsibility for it should be GRF. The only area that I see that can be questionable is the area in back of the bridge going towards Valencia, is that? Whatever that, not the Moulton end where I live, but the other end. There's little tiny spots that may be questionable. Those little tiny spots, I think GRF can take care of also. It wouldn't be so terrible. But if you go down towards me, the creek is the creek. The creek bed is there, the water runs up, and that's all the responsibility. Not the trees necessarily that are like on the slopes, but certainly any place that that water runs. And I don't think we should be responsible for any of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And
They discussed the repair.
yes, they did, and the survey will take that into the riparian, the overflow of the banks.
Oh, they will.
Into consideration.
Okay.
The creek has changed direction in a couple of different places over 47 years. So what we need
Just in the
is-
last couple of years.
We
it has.
need a good survey that says this is where everything is.
I totally
That's
understand
it.
that, but I also understand that they were going to put in stakes. And if you ever saw how fast that water does go when it rains, there's no way, unless those stakes go 12 feet into the ground, they're not going to be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maggie? Did you have a comment? Maybe not.
The committee was very clear. They felt that we needed to know so that United could control what it wanted, where it could plant.
And our
And so
expenses.
that the other GRF would control the creek itself as it does now. But so that where there was a question, we would know who to send our request to and so on. So it's always a good idea to know exactly where your property lines are. So if we split the cost with GRF, we will know finally what our area is and what GRF's area is. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more comments, I will ask for the vote. We are voting on a resolution for an unbudgeted expense of $5,800 to hire a land surveyor to determine the Aliso Creek boundaries, and we are splitting the cost with GRF. All right, the vote is 9-1 with no abstentions. All right, it passes. All right, let's go on to committee reports. I'm so proud of you all. We're doing such a good job this morning. All right, let's start with our Finance Committee. And Director Morrison, our treasurer, can we have the Finance Committee report, the treasurer's report?
Okay, slide 1, please. Thank you. Through the reporting period of July 31st, 2019, the total revenue for United was $24,905,000 compared to expenses of $25,338,000, resulting in a net expense of $433,000. Slide 2, please. In finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial results. The operating fund, without depreciation or unrealized gains, shows an operating surplus of $383,000 through the reporting period. This chart shows how much of our revenue went into operations, with $16,361,000 coming in from assessments and $824,000 coming from non-assessment revenue, without unrealized gains. This is compared to the operating expenditures of $16,802,000 without depreciation. Slide 3, please. This next chart takes the full income statement and compares those results to the budget.
All right,
So
you're
we
one
can-
ahead, Daniel, so can you go back one? Oh, no, it's upstairs, isn't it? We're at slide 3, not slide 4. There we go, thank you.
Okay, we can see that the United ended the period better than budget by $877,000. Okay, slide 4, please. The most significant favorable variances from budget were attributable to employee compensation and related, $403,000. A lot of this was due to water heater replacements that were budgeted to be performed by in-house plumbing staff but were being completed by outside service providers. Favorable variance also resulted from negotiated savings and union medical expense at the time of the union contract renewal. Non-assessment revenues of $329,000, a favorable variance resulted from quarter-end reporting of unrealized gain on available for sale investments. So we had unrealized gain of $239,000, which reflects a favorable investment market conditions year-to-date. Outside services of $226,000 were due to timing. Budgets are spread evenly, and certain reserve expenditures occur later in the year. So programs such as waistline, paving, landscape renovation, building structures, water heaters, and permits are spread out over the year. Utilities and telephone, $109,000, less water usage for irrigation due to rainfall in the first quarter. So water consumption is 17% lower than budget, 99.3% of which was in efficient tiers. Materials and supplies, a minus $206,000, unfavorable variance due to the acceleration of water heater replacements. Contractors are addressing a backlog of water heater replacement work on hold during the review of the building code changes. Slide 5, please. On this pie chart, we show non-assessment revenues received to date of $1,329,000 by category, starting with our largest revenue-generating category of fees and charges to residents, followed by interest income, unrealized gain or loss on investments primarily resulting from GA gap entries, laundry revenue, and so forth. Slide 6. On this pie chart, we see the expenses to date of $25.3 million, showing that our largest categories of expenses are for employee compensation, property taxes, followed by outside services, utilities, materials and supplies, and so forth. Slide 7. The contingency and replacement fund balances are shown here. The contingency fund balance on July the 31st, 2019 was $2,436,000. Year-to-date contributions and interest collected were $697,000, while year-to-date expenditures were $922,000. The replacement fund balance on July 31st, 2019 was $18,344,000. Year-to-date contributions and interest collected were $6,784,000, while year-to-date expenditures were $7,492,000. So slide 8, please. We compare this to the historic fund balances for the past 5 years on this chart, which has an average of $21.4 million. So we are pretty much all in line. Slide 9 shows resale history from 2017 to 2019 through July, and United sales totaled 197. And I'm going to give you the delinquency report as of August the 26th, 2019. Our current month count was 12, which is the same as the prior month. However, we're down $18,799, so now we're delinquent at $101,005. We had one write-off, we had 2 notice of sale, files are with collection agent. We had 3 files with collection agent. We had 3 files submitted to legal counsel, 1 NCB payment request, and 2 bankruptcies in progress. Our chargeable services delinquency report as of August 26, 2019, we had 22 at $178,546, and our prior month is 25, so we were down 3, but we're up $395 to $178,151. So our monthly resale report as of August 2019, we had resales this year to date of 236. Last year we had 261, so we're down 25 sales or 9.6%. Our sales volume as of August 2019, 61,282,044. Our sales volume a year ago, 72,637,640, so we're down 11,355,596 or 15.6% year to date. Average resale price year to date was $259,883. Last year was $278,980. So our average resale price was down $19,097 or 6.8% year to date. Our monthly leasing report is staying the same at 9%. I guess that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Our next report is from Director Blackwell on, Director Akrakar on architectural control and standards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Many alterations such as skylights, solar tubes, ceiling fans, etc., comprise of the radiant heat due to breaking the circuit required to conduct the electric current. So what we are trying to do is trying to get an alternative to heat source, as the alternative heat source can be provided by a central heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And we are trying to establish that as a policy. That's all about on architectural control I have for today. Our next meeting is on September 19th at 2019, at 9:30 a.m. in Elms Room.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Director Blackwell, report of the Communications Committee.
Thank you. We had the breeze again, and that should be out very soon. We had more reports the last 2 months than we've been able to fit in, and that's good news, but it is a puzzlement for me, so that's a difficulty. But I appreciate the reports that people have given, and I would urge everyone in the audience to please read the entire breeze, and please get on the internet and on the website and look up things. Once you get a handle on it, it's easier to do. So, and the communications from the village is up greatly. I'll talk about that later. Thank you very much.
All right, the Member Hearings Committee, Director Akrakar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee met on August 22nd to discuss member hearing problems. These are closed meetings, and all the cases were properly handled and disposed. The next meeting, again, it's a closed meeting, so it's September 26th at 9 a.m. in the Sycamore Room. Thank you.
Thank you. The Governing Documents Review Committee, Director Blackwell.
Let's see. All right, we didn't meet this month. We will be meeting in 2 weeks.
September 27th.
September 27th?
3rd.
3rd. Thank you.
Okay. Can you go on to the Landscape Committee?
All right, I just flipped. All right, yes, we had a meeting on August 14th. This is going to ring. Sorry, hang on. Wait. We discussed, of course, the creek, and we discussed the cycles and so on. I cannot find my report. We will not, as we said before, we will not be mowing every week. We've explained that 4 times, and the question is still arising. We will not ever mow weekly. We will mow weekly when it is required. We go by the growth of the grass. We do not go by the calendar, and neither does the grass growth. So we will follow the growth of the grass. As I said, the rotation is supposed to come around 4 times a year. Oh, here it is. Thank you. We did have a mulch day, and that was successful. People picked up their mulch. And as was explained, you put your clippings by the curb. That means in the street by the curb, not on the sidewalk by the curb, in the street by the curb. And you do that late Friday night or late Thursday night, and we call Thursday afternoon before 5 to let them know that you have a pile there to pick up. And then they will pick that up. People were leaving them on the corners of their areas, but since it takes a long time for us to get around there, the pile can dissipate all over the place and create a mess. So move your pile of clippings out to the curb, dump it by the curb, and call, please, so that it will be picked up on Friday morning early. Thank you very much. We are experimenting with mowing methodologies. We have new mowers, and we do have growth regulators to slow down the growth of some plants which are difficult to maintain if allowed free range. And so that will help us to control all kinds of things. The foreman or lead men wear blue or white shirts. You can speak to them, residents may speak to them. The workers wear green shirts, so don't bother a worker, let the worker work. But you can, if you have a question or problem, speak to a foreman or a lead man in a blue or white shirt with any problems or requests. Again, it is really important that residents, please do call us. If you see something wrong, as it is, call it in. We're asking you to do that in every area, but in landscape especially, particularly if there are areas which need direct attention. Sometimes those will be compliance, referred to compliance if it is your neighbor's messy personal lot. But I've been wandering around delivering flyers for a month now, and the personal gardens are looking really great. I mean, I hardly see any that look a mess. They're looking better and better. It's a beautiful time of year. It's lovely to be walking from place to place. We unanimously did approve the survey of the creek. And so that was passed today. Our next meeting is October 10th, and you're welcome to come. It'll be at 9:30. Thank you.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. No, we don't have to do
reading what
that.
it says here.
Oh, we're backing it up because we don't have to do the march around,
All
so
right,
it's
so it's
9:30.
9:30.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director Randazzo.
Yes, the Maintenance and Construction Committee met on August 28th. We reviewed a number of things. We reviewed the project log that provides updates on the various major M&C projects that are being performed in United. Also, Ernesto, the VMS M&C Director, reviewed with us the repairs that are being made to various structures due to aging and due to water damage, and I will talk to that in a minute, and that was some of the things I mentioned to Mr. Landry before. In addition, we addressed the Solar Task Force report, which is currently being revised due to some new data that we have obtained and some inaccurate data that were used in the original report. Once it is completed, we will reissue the report. So if you have any comments to the old report, please wait for the revised report to be issued. With regard to the project log and the budgets associated with those projects and the operating budget for maintenance and construction, I made the following opening remarks at the M&C meeting, and I feel that some of them are worth repeating here in view of the fact, some of the things that we discussed here today. Today, we have voted on the budget for next year, and I'm sure that many people are not very happy with the number. As you know, it is a matter of course, just by the nature of things, that M&C and landscaping are major consumers of this budget. Obviously, I can only speak to M&C and its needs, as identified in the project log and the M&C operating budget. Some people say that if we were more efficient or if we had better customer feedback, we would not need to increase the assessments this year. To them, I ask the question, has the cost of all the commodities and utilities you purchase outside the village gone down, or have they gone up? I would venture to guess that they have not gone down. The cost of living in Orange County is one of the highest in the country, and it affects what it costs to live in Laguna Woods Village. We are not immune to cost increases, even though some people feel that we are insulated in this community because it costs less to live here with all of our amenities than it does in the surrounding areas. Our infrastructure is 50-plus years old, and it needs to be fixed and improved. Many of the items on the project log reflect infrastructure, fencing replacements, painting, dry rot repair, roofing, piping repair, electrical replacement and repair, gutter replacement and repair, termite infestation, and road work, just to mention a few. These are not nice-to-have items, these are need-to-have items. With regard to efficiencies, we have implemented and continue to implement systems to make us more efficient and provide for better customer feedback so that we can eventually achieve zero callbacks, as was evidenced by Mr. Parker today, indicating he's had a number of meetings. However, we are not perfect, and therefore mistakes are made. Even Verizon, AT&T, and others do not get it right the first time. But suffice it to say that our record is getting better month by month, and we have data to prove that. United is trying to spend our budgeted money wisely. We are all doing the best that we can to keep costs down. There is always someone that can come up with a short-sighted idea that is either not based in fact or will eventually cost us twice as much in the future, i.e. penny wise, pound foolish. But that is not the way it should be done, and I personally do not agree with those ideas. An example of an item that is short-sighted or based on erroneous information is the issue that has recently been brought out that we can purchase a dishwasher in a local store that is cheaper than the amount that was shown in the 2019 budget. First of all, a budget is an estimate based on info we had at the time the budget was developed. For the item in question, it was pointed out that the 2019 budget showed a cost of $649, yet you could purchase that item in the local DIY store for $150 less. However, it was never mentioned that the DIY store price did not include the cost of installation, parts for the install, and a permit that was required by the city at the time of that entry. The DIY store price does not contain any of those items, and it also does not include haul-away costs. Do not be fooled by people that say things without any facts to back them up. With regard to reserves, which take up a large part of our budget, some of the reserves are used to address issues that were not budgeted on a reactive basis, like if we had sustained major damage from some event and our insurance will not cover any of that work or only will cover part of it. In situations where we find unsafe conditions that need to be fixed without benefit of insurance, we use the money in reserves. This is one of the reasons for why a strong reserve is important. Case in point, at the M&C meeting, Ernesto showed us photos of structural issues that needed to be repaired to keep our village safe, as was indicated by Mr. Landry. Many of these items were structural in nature and were caused by water damage and just 50 years of age. When we find these items, they need to get fixed on a reactive basis in order to keep us all safe. Some of these items are critical, such as undermined foundations, walls that are buckling, and water damage to the foundations due to a lack of gutters. In order to address these in a more proactive basis, we will be using some funding to have inspections performed in high-priority areas first to ensure that we do not have any problems. However, as we know, aging is never kind, and we know that some reserves will need to be used to address these issues. Please note, in order to keep us all safe, since VMS cannot be everywhere all the time, if you see something that looks unsafe, then contact Resident Services. The next United M&C meeting is scheduled for October 23rd at 9 a.m. in the boardroom. All residents are invited. Please come and get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next report, Director Akrakar on the Resident Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me say one thing, that our committee, Resident Advisory Group, is getting some activity, but there are more and more members attending it, but we still have empty chairs, so please bring any problems you have, and we will try to get the staff working on it, because we do have staff attending our meeting. And it's really good for our community to have all the issues surfaced and brought forward. A couple of incidents I can tell you, that even the top director levels, chiefs are involved and take the action in their own hands when needed. I don't want to mention any names, but I do have most of the issues that were brought forward have been dealt with or worked on or being worked on. Even incidents such as parkings by outside vendors had some problems that have been issued, I agree, that have been worked on by even our security department. So please do attend these meetings if you have any problems. And our next meeting is September 10th at 4 p.m. in Sycamore Room. You need to have escort to come up to second floor, but it is available. Thank you.
Thank you. I just might add that Resident Advisory is an advisory committee. It's not just for complaints or problems. If you don't know where to go, and quite frankly, in this large village, people say, I don't know who to go to. I don't know who to do. We, of course, ask they go to Resident Services first, but if you're not sure, come to Resident Advisory and we can help direct you in the right direction of who can help you. All right, let's look at the GRF committee highlights. And first start with the Finance Committee, Director Morrison.
Okay, the income statement as of July 31st, 2019 for GRF, we had assessment revenues year-to-date of $18,083,000. Our budget was $18,083,000, so we have a zero variance. Our non-assessment revenues were $7,965,000 compared to a budget of $7,937,000. So we have a $28,000 variance, or a total revenue to date of $26,048,000 compared to a budget of $26,020,000. So we have a variance of $28,000. The expenses to date are $24,220,000 compared to a budget of $24,429,000, resulting in a $209,000 variance. So our net revenue to expense was $1,828,000 compared to a budget of $1,591,000 for net loss of $237,000. The Finance Committee is looking into possible revenue sources so that we can short or cut the costs for the three, for United and for GRF and for Third. And so we're looking, I'm personally looking into club guest fees to see if we are assessing guests that are coming in for different events. So these are just in the works right now. Nothing's been decided, nothing's done. We're just kind of pulling the information.
Yeah, there are two committees that are going on that, and they, again, it's just brainstorming. There is no specifics on them. One is additional revenues, and one is on the cost savings that we do. So next, we have Director Margolis for the Community Activities Committee.
The Community Activities Committee has not met since July. We reported on those meetings in August. We will be meeting this Thursday, and there are a number of things on the agenda. Pool 2, backstroke flags, GRF wedding policy, Clubhouse 2, open space passive park, Clubhouse 2, literature rack, GRF pricing policy on room, the stables, garden center, and bridge. And then there's some discussion on the Emeritus Ad Hoc Committee, policies on clubs that are conducting business for profit, and the stables update. So those are the topics that will be on Thursday, September 12th at 1:30 in this room.
Thank you. Next, for the GRF Landscape Committee, Director Blackwell.
Thank you. The pulling of cattails is allowed from October through January, and that helps explain why the creek looks so much better, because it is now, no, it's not. It's September, so we're doing it sometime. The question is, can we pull it at the beginning in October and then pull them at the end in January? If we can get two pulls out of the creek, whether or not the new one is big enough to cut. We're trying to make 2 trims of the creek, of the cattails, but we'll see how that works out. So we're going to stretch that. Oh yes, the Baha'i Club wanted to donate a bench and 2 plumeria trees, and that will be very nice. So the bench is in question now because the old bench, which was okay, is now out of business. They're no longer made. So M&C will have to determine a new kind of bench. But that donation is very much appreciated from the Baha'i Club, and that will be in effect as soon as the new bench is determined. The West Creek doesn't have they can clear cattails anytime they want because it's a dry creek and doesn't go to the ocean, so it's not riparian. And so we can do whatever we want over on the dry creek part, but on the wet creek part, we have to be careful. The committee voted to allow Mr. Weeman to research a cost to clean up a portion of the creek, and he will get back to us. And that, the committee was unanimous in that request. We are very interested in having that happen, and apparently it is beginning to happen already. Also, the landscaping of renovated gates, some of the gate renovations have not been done for landscape, though the new gate arms and everything are in. Now we will be conducting a survey of the gates to report on costs to upgrade the landscaping at the gates. Though ours, gates 1 and 5, remain pretty good as usual, always cheery to look at. Our next meeting is November 13th at 3:30, no, November 13th at 1:30.
Thank you. Report from the Maintenance and Construction Committee, I'm going to get you that doctorate. Director Randazzo.
Since there are 3 in a row, I'll just go through the PAC,
Okay.
the Village Energy Task Force, and the MNC. With regard to the MNC committee, the meeting was held on August 14th. At this meeting, we reviewed the complete project log that addresses outstanding projects that are anticipated to be done this year or are in process of being done. This is most MNC meetings, we look at the project log. Ernesto, the VMS MNC director, made a presentation on the roof replacement for the community center that was accomplished with a new cool roofing technology. This re-roofing should help with our HVAC costs when you put it together with the new HVAC system that has just recently been installed also. So
It's working.
the HVAC system is still being commissioned in order to fine-tune it, and we're going through that process for the next month or so. In the closed meeting, we considered the awarding of contracts to a couple of contractors for projects that are on the books to be executed. These are contracts that are on the books. And at the meeting, we made recommendations to the board to go forward with these contracts. A date of our next meeting is October 9th, 2019, in the boardroom at 9:30 a.m. All residents are invited. Again, I state, please come and get involved. With regard to the PAC, we had a meeting held on August 15th. At this meeting, a presentation was made by the architect that is doing the design work for the PAC. The work that is anticipated to be done is the work that has been currently budgeted for $3.8 million. $1.8 million in 2018 and $2 million in 2019. So it's being spread over a number of years. We originally agreed to go forward with this budget that would address upgrades to the HVAC system, ADA and fire life safety items, rigging, curtains and lighting, and upgrades to the lobby and dining room. These are just not cosmetic things. These are things that need to get done. Most of this work is need to have rather than nice to have. It addresses major safety issues and changes to the HVAC system, which needs to be upgraded to address electrical cost savings and increased efficiencies. With the current system, the whole air conditioning unit, which is very old, needs to be running even though only one room is occupied. The new system will allow for zoning so that we will be saving on electricity. Some people have written that Clubhouse 1 should be done first before the PAC. However, a recent report that was issued to us by the engineers indicate that Clubhouse 1 does not have any issues that need to be addressed
Immediately.
at this time, and as a result, will not be issued by the M&C department until the first quarter of 2020. That is, the report won't be issued until the first quarter of 2020. So therefore, it seems that the PAC, with its safety items and cost savings items with regard to HVAC, needs to be number one on the list, and we've already budgeted the money for it. And it's not $1 bazillion, it's the $3.8 million. The next PAC meeting is October 17th, 2019, in the boardroom at 1:30 p.m. All residents are invited, and I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of discussion items they want to make. Please come and get involved. With regard to the Energy Task Force, At this meeting, we went over the energy projects project log again, which is what we normally do at every task force meeting. One of the items on that log was the new level 3 and level 2 charging stations that are now operational. The new level 3 stations are available to be used at a cost of 25 cents for residents and 40 cents for non-residents. These new EV chargers was addressed very well by Ms. Director Margolis on the TV6 last Friday, and her presentation should be available on YouTube for TV6. Also, Steve Leonard, the chair of the Energy Task Force, was also present for that TV6 interview, and he went into some additional details regarding our work on the task force, and that is also available on the YouTube presentation. Instead of me giving you the 5-second version, you can obtain the in-depth version on YouTube, and they did an excellent job. The date of the next meeting is November 6, 2019 at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. All residents invited, and again, please come and get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. A report from the Media and Communication Committee, Director Blackwell.
Okay. Okay. This is, you have to understand that I am technically inept. Okay, so I will be reading off things which I do not understand, so that, forgive me for that. But we met on August 19th, and we had some reports from Chuck Holland, of course, who is the fountain of all information technological. West Coast Internet has 9,920 subscribers. So they only have a few left to make it a whole 100%. Come on, folks, sign up. Okay, after describing the services, he provided a PowerPoint presentation with plans to increase bandwidth and a proposal to extend the current contract. He proposed a $2 per subscriber monthly fee increase. Tier 1, now $23.50, will become $25.50, and they will move from 15 megabytes to 25 megabytes. Tier 2 at $28.50 currently will move up to $30.50 and move from 30 megabytes to 50 megabytes. Tier 3 is $38.50 now for 50 megabytes, will move to 75 megabytes for the $2 increase of $40.50. Tier 4 will move from $48.75 to $51.75 and move from 100 megabytes to 150 megabytes. So whatever those are, they're great. So West Coast Internet is willing to invest approximately $350,000 in head-end infrastructure updates to future-proof internet services with the ultimate goal of providing up to 1 gigabyte internet speed by 2025. This does not include the outside cable infrastructure improvements that VMS is preparing to do to split the nodes and improve network capacity for 1 gigabyte speed. All right. Then we had a report from Marketing and Communications. Eileen Pollan and her crew have done 21 notifications to residents in July only. 21. Just everything you can imagine. For future agendas, we have discussion of the Globe newspaper of West Coast speed increase and the West Coast Internet contract, which will be in negotiations. And our next meeting will be Monday, September 16th at 1:30 in the boardroom. Come and find out what all those things mean.
Thank you. A report from the Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Addington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The meeting was on August the 7th. I reported on it on August 13th. The next meeting will be on October the 2nd. The Mobility and Vehicles Committee deals with all vehicles purchased by the village, as well, including buses, and all issues of mobility. I want to say a personal thank you on behalf of the committee to our advisor Vashti. She adds a lot to our procedures. That's it.
Thank you. All right, Director Liberatore, you have a report from Security and Community Access.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Due to some personal issues, I wasn't able to attend that meeting. Thank you.
Okay. The meeting I attended in his stead was August 26th. And the main thing I would like to bring out to our residents is that every meeting, Chief Moy provides a listing of all the different types of violations that we have within the community. And what struck me this time mostly is 1/2 to 2/3 usually of all the violations are in United. And these can be little things like not having a driver's license, or it can be speeding, it can be petty theft, it can be many, many different items, but when they add up, most of them happen in United. So I think we need to be aware, and we need to really look at what we're doing and how we can better those statistics so that we are not being the bulk of them. Can I have a report, Director Tarn, on the hearing, the traffic hearings?
Yes, am I on? Yes. Hello, am I on?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, yes, thank you, Chair Lady. You have stole the thunder, and there was a lot of traffic hearing talk about it. And still, I'm pretty much repeating myself for the previous meetings. The most frequent meeting are the speeding and the stop signs. And that's what we really need to think about. And stop at the stop sign, we have plenty of very senior citizens. They walk slowly, so stop the stop sign, and sometimes they may not even see the street very well. Speeding is another issue that we need to take care of, and everybody needs to drive slowly. This is not your regular street outside. And what we found out is most of the violations are one-time violations. They are not repeated violations. So you have a chance to go to the traffic court. I just attended traffic court, not because I have violations, but just volunteered and attended. And I learned a lot about the traffic court is all about violations that may occur within the village. We are not talking too much about outside the village. We're talking about inside the village. So you will drive safely in this image, in this village here. So our next meeting will be September 18th. I won't be available, so please, Chair, assign somebody else to attend that meeting. Thank you.
You do have an alternate, so it will be taken care of. I might just correct just one thing, if you don't mind, Director Tong. It's not traffic court, it's traffic school. We do not have a traffic court in the village. All right, Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Director Akrakar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last meeting was on July 30th, and it was already reported. The next meeting is on the September 24th, but I would like to mention a few things. Our CEO, Ms. Foster, already talked about Earthquake Expo. That is happening very soon. When is it, 14th? Yeah,
Saturday
September
the
14th at 9 o'clock in the PAC, Performing Arts Center. Please attend that and feel how earthquake feels like. I would also like to mention the basic training available that Disaster Preparedness Task Force puts out. One is the basic first aid training coming up on September 16th in Clubhouse 7, 1 to 4. The next one is Good Neighbor Captain Training on October 2nd, 1 to 3 in Performing Arts Center. Please attend that. And also, I would like to mention the Great California Shakeout coming up in October 17th. One more fact I would like to mention, we have an excellent disaster preparedness plan, but we are still lacking enough volunteers for Good Neighbor Captains. So please join and put your elbow grease and help our community, your neighbor, yourself, and let's have a safe entire village. That's all I have to say. The next meeting I told you already about, it's in the boardroom, September 24th at 9:30. You're welcome to attend. Bye.
Thank you, Director. Future agenda items, we have a couple of things that are in committee right now, but nothing that is scheduled except the two items that were on the new business for our next meeting. I'll go to director comments, and I'll start with you, Director Torn. Do you have a comment?
Me?
Yes.
Okay, I thought I was the last one usually. Okay. Okay. Many people ask about the schedule, landscape schedule. I think we really need to have a schedule shared with residents. A lot of people are asking this question: when will my lawn, will my bushes being trimmed? That's the best communication we have. So both the communication chair and landscape chair need to work together to share that information with us. Okay. Residents mentioned that they haven't been experienced the problem for 7 months, and supposed to be 3 months rotation. If we have the schedule, the community should be able to find out after 3 months, 4 months at most. Okay, let's make it 5 months. We should have found out, and we can jump on that before the residents asking us what happened. So the schedule is very important to share with the residents the full rotation, how much time it takes. Okay, and also what we are on the finance report, we've seen that expense of is $210,000 under budget. But didn't mention any reason. Sounds like we're doing a great job. But actually, if we didn't finish our job, but we spend all the labors doing the work, something's wrong. We spend 100% labor cost, but we only finished 80% the job. That is not good. Even though we save the expenses, that's not good. We need to look into that and find out what's going on there. And talking about the waste cut, and if we can cut our waste, we will have enough money. And one thing that we need to communicate to residents is that we are not wasting money anymore. That's what we need to really help out. As far as the solar energy report, there's no change order. When they change the 5% to 2% tilt of the solar panel, we reduced our solar production, and that is a big problem, and we cannot find out who signed it off. Okay. Infrastructure problems, if we use our reserve, we can use the extra, the 8.some% reserve, we can reduce each per month per minute by $50, my calculation. Okay, if anybody has questions, we can really improve that. Yes, in the future we may have to make it up, but let's look at it. Either do it now or do it later. So why don't we do it now? That's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Director Liberatore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Director Addington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I only have one thing, because I promised Jean in cul-de-sac 205 that I would not let a single opportunity go by to mention, please, ladies and gentlemen, residents, everybody, keep an eye out on our trash bins. And if you see somebody inappropriately dumping trash, we mention it all the time. We put it everywhere we can put it. We write articles about it. And Jean said, maybe if you just talked about it on TV. Green bin is for garbage and household trash and tiny little clippings from your houseplants. And the blue bin is for recyclables only, and the part in the middle is not for toilet seats and mattresses and bags of stuff. I just found out recently that, I didn't know this, that mattresses have to be removed by guys, our workers have to dress up in hazmat suits because mattresses are considered hazardous waste. I just never thought of it. Well, that's even more expense. And so there, Jean, this is near to my heart as well as Jean's, but she was pretty frustrated about it. So I'm just asking you, please, to keep an eye on your trash habits. Thank you very much.
Director Morrison.
I would like to thank our CEO, Jeff Parker, our COO, Saban Foster, and our CFO, Betty Parker, and all of the staff that assisted them in putting together the budget for 2020. I don't think anyone on the outside has any idea of what it takes to put these budgets together. You have to go take 5 years and go line by line and figure out what you've spent and what you think you're going to need to spend, and it takes a lot of time. So again, thank you all very much.
Director Blackwell.
Thank you. I have several things. First, call compliance for anything. We have rules for noise, excessive noise, for dog poo, for overwatering, for bad behavior of all kinds. In my laundry room, there was a theft this month, 2 thefts actually, and there was a theft of a wheelchair from a front patio. That is so unfair. That is so unfair. I cannot believe it. I'm so sorry to hear that. Call about anything that is untoward. We have rules to protect you. Your calls to compliance are protected and secret. You will not be ratted on. Nobody is going to come after you with a broom or a claim that you have done something. So please call compliance. It is the only way that we have eyes and ears everywhere. And there are apparently some people that are willing to do many evil things. A fruit tree must still be planted with the approval of the landscapers, of the landscape department. You cannot, even though we did not pass a rule limiting fruit trees. Every fruit tree is supposed to have a supervisor's okay. Vegetable planting never was allowed in United. In my many walks, I only ever saw one small tomato bush in United. So no vegetables anywhere, even on your private patios, really. But a fruit tree may be planted, but it must require prior approval of location. I have seen some planted 9 inches from the patio wall. That's just going to be impossible in 2 years. So be sure that you follow that. The Thursday CAC meeting is very important. There are several issues about rising fees for certain entities versus our shared cost concept in the village. So if you would like only 1,000 people in the village to be shouldering all the increases, then you don't want the shared costs. If you want 13,000 plus of us to all share with our increased costs, then you want more shared costs. But that is part of what will be determined on Thursday and will continue on for discussion, I'm sure, for the next few months. Thank you. That is Thursday, September 12th at 1:30. Sue gave a good report, and it should be an interesting meeting. Thank you.
Director Randazzo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to reiterate what I stated during the meeting. If you see something, say something, and it's and the infrastructure with regard to structural type items, okay, because of water damage this year, just due to aging or what have you, you're seeing things out there that if you think, you don't have to be an engineer. If you see a wall that's basically not straight and it's sort of like leaning to one way, tell somebody about it. It may not be a problem because there may be reinforcing within that wall to not make it, fall over, but it's something that we need to be aware of. And as I mentioned, the people in VMS, I mean, you get landscape crews all the way, but these guys are not engineers. They're not looking at walls or what have you. You're walking that area all around your manor and your various neighborhoods and cul-de-sacs, okay? And you're seeing this stuff, and don't assume that somebody else is going to basically call it in, because they probably won't. So at least call it in and see if we can possibly address those things, because we have to get our hands around some of these unsafe conditions. If you would have been at the M&C meeting, you saw that a footing for one of the buildings wasn't going to be a major danger, but it is something that we would basically need to address. The water had completely devolved around the actual footing itself, and the actual anchor bolt was showing, okay, outside the concrete. So, I mean, we don't have a lot of issues like that, but we could if we don't address them early enough. And then the other thing I want to mention, I want to tag on to Director Addington, is the fact that some people don't know what the word recycle means. I saw one day in the recycle bin that's next to my house a chair. Now, some people feel it might be something that you would recycle, but not really, because the only thing you're supposed to recycle in this neighborhood is paper, metal, glass, and plastics, okay? A chair is not considered recyclable, and that needs to be put outside on certain Saturdays, what have you, that's considered furniture and not recyclable. Thank you.
Third Saturday.
Third Saturday, yes. Thank you.
No comment.
Thank you. Director Ardrikar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things I would like to say. One thing I would like to compliment Mary Stone for an excellent report today. I was wondering if that can be put in the handout. That way people can actually have a copy to save if they want to. Second, I would like to ask all our residents that the elections votes should be in, whether or not you vote for anybody, send your ballot in, blank if you want to, but please make sure you exercise your rights to vote. That's very important. That's it, Madam.
Director Margolis.
I'd like to also emphasize that voting is necessary, and if we do not get enough votes, we have to go out for a second vote, and it is very costly. So we want you to send your ballots in, and please take time to read and look at who's running, because it's an important part of our committee. If we don't have the best people on it, we really need the best.
Thank you. Ms. Siobhan, any comments? Jeff, any comments? All right, this meeting is recessed to our closed meeting. Thank you all.
Yes.